Welcome to the April 16th Fisher City Council meeting. We've got one announcement for sure. We've got National Day of Prayer is May 3rd, and there will be more information to come regarding city's involvement with that. Any other announcements from council members or staff? All right. We're also going to acknowledge the Week of the Young Child and the United Way Central Indiana Day as proclamations that are attached to the agenda. And then we're going to go on to our presentations. We need 20-year service awards. Chief Thompson?
You guys can just hang there while I talk about you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Keep turning. You got to
can kinda
spin the whole
turn
time.
angle. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There.
Okay. Keep going.
So,
we'll get to you in a minute.
Here you get the classic Tony David and Brad Myers. These two are a couple clowns, but we're very happy to call them ours. Brad and Tony have been with our agency for 20 years, and with the respect it deserves, this is Sergeant Brad Myers and Officer Tony David. Brad is joined tonight by his wife, Jonna, and his two daughters, Mallory and Morgan. And Brad came to us from IU Police Department, and an IU guy went through their academy, came to us, and really set a high standard. What I remember about Brad when he first came on is that he had high aspirations of going to the federal law enforcement. And we're really glad that he chose to stay with Fishers because he's had a great career. He was a founding member of our emergency response team, and he's still on the emergency response team. How many years now, Brad? 16 years of doing that, which is not an easy task. He's taken on a leadership role there. He's been a DARE officer. He's been a detective. And then since 2011, he's been a sergeant on day shift. And then Tony is also joined by his wife tonight, Shelly. And his twin sons, Joel and Anthony, are here. And then Nathan and Rylan is here as well. Tony came to us from IPS Schools Police, but Tony grew up in Carmel and had always aspired to be a police officer as well. When he hired on, his background was everything from Noblesville to working in a jail for a while. He did everything he could to get onto a police department, and we're glad we were able to get him. A solid career, chasing drugs is how I would call it, because he was a patrolman. He was assigned to the drug task force as an undercover officer. He was a K-9 officer for many years. And Tony is also a founding member of our emergency response team and stepped down a few years ago, but was there when we started the show with that. What's most impressive about these guys, I mean, and there are countless stories of these two. They're very, very funny and entertaining. And they stand out more than anything, though, as really, really strong family members. And with their family and their kids and the representation that they bring to our agency, not just as a police officer, but in the community, has been outstanding. And I am very thankful for your 20 years of service and 20 more to go, right? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We really appreciate, on behalf of the City Council, we really appreciate everything all of you do to keep our community safe. Without that, I mean, the things that we don't know that go on that you deal with keeps us, I know with my boys at home and my wife, sleeping well at night, so thank you very much. Next is the presentation of the American Planning Association Award for the City of Fishers 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Tony. Don't worry, Fishers Youth Council. I didn't forget you, okay?
Good evening. For the record, Tony Bagato, Director of Planning and Zoning. And I just want to present an award for you for tonight for the Fishers 2040 plan. When I started here in 2016, the city was wrapping up the process of creating what's called the Fishers 2040. It's a long-term vision, comprehensive plan for how the city will develop and maintain economic and community vibrancy over the future. And just, from my own personal experience coming from California with 15 years experience and then 2 years here, that comprehensive plan is really one of the best I've seen. Very user-friendly and straight to the point, and not the kind of book that usually gets put on a shelf and left alone by planners. I think it's very useful in our day-to-day work. And so it was presented by our department to the APA, American Planning Association Indiana chapter for an award, and it was received well and received honorable mention as one of the 2 awards that received that day. So I just want to present it to the council, thank the community members involved, the council members, the mayor, Leah, deputy mayor, and all the work the planning department did in creating such a wonderful plan for the future, and this is the award here.
Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, Mayor Fadness, you have a special presentation?
That's
or
right. It's
youth
go
council?
time.
Go ahead. Go time.
Mr. Domzik, where are you? There you are. Come on up. I will briefly state something, but I don't want to steal Dan's thunder. We started a mayor's youth council last year, Dan and I in partnership, and really excited about trying to incite some passion among young people. You know, we have our entrepreneurial movement here in the city of Fishers, and there are lots of kids that dream about being CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. But occasionally I run across a kid who was a little bit like myself when I was their age, in that we're motivated by something else, by being part of something bigger than ourselves. And I wanted to inspire that excitement around a life of public service. And so Dan helped me put together a program that I think allows kids insight into what it means to have meaningful careers in the public sector. And that could be city government all the way through to checking out the jail on the right side of the bars. With that, I'm very excited tonight. I've been grilling these guys for the last part of 2 or 3 months in preparation for their ability to present to you tonight. And Dan's going to tell you what they're going to present on, and I look forward to just listening to what I'm sure are going to be some amazing insights from the young leaders here in our community. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor Fadness. That is totally on point. For a couple other just additional points of context, the Mayor's Youth Council is a competitive program. We do open this up to any junior or senior in Fishers to participate in. This year we had about 42 applications. We were only allowed to take 25 students. My parameters for why a student is the best fit for this program is exactly to Mayor Fadness's point. This is about people who want to be involved, who want to find out a way to make a difference. And in that, our group has everyone from the most recent, I believe, FHS prom queen to kids that have GPAs that were far greater than mine. But what they all have in common is they just want to make a difference and they want to get involved. So tonight, they're going to dive into a handful of areas that they want to share their viewpoints on, some different policy ideas that they care about and that they've done research with, either within the community or with city staff, sometimes even leaving the boundaries of Fishers for some inspiration. So tonight, kind of in this order, we have a handful of policy subcommittees that are going to talk to you about education, entrepreneurship, crime, globalization, and mental health. I encourage City Council, our staff members, to go ahead after each individual presentation. I know we're limited on time, but to feel free to ask tough questions. These students are cream of the crop leaders and academics, and so far it's just been an absolute honor and joy to kind of watch them go through this process and really take a look at what they think they can do and what they think the city can do to impact the future of Fishers.
So to just make one clarifying point, the exercise that I put in front of them was to, around these policy platforms, and they actually had to come up with which policy platforms they thought were important to the long-term viability of our city. And so the conversation tonight is if they were to give you advice as to what policies you should pursue to ensure that this community is still the number one place to live 20 years from now, what are those policy platforms?
This conversation has started in, I believe, September at the very beginning of the academic year, and this is the apex. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and bring our first group up, and that is the education. Sorry, I almost scared you guys. I almost mixed up the order. Is the entrepreneurship subcommittee.
Hi, my name is Lucy Cruz.
And I'm Riley Huffman.
Our focus in the Future of Fishers policy plan is entrepreneurship and community involvement. We partnered with entrepreneurs such as John McDonald from Clear Object, John Weschler from Launch Fishers, and Brandon Cloud from HSC Schools to get a better understanding of the importance of entrepreneurship and its presence in our community. Why is this focus important? It's important to focus on entrepreneurship and community involvement with young adults and students because they are the future of Fishers. Students are not aware of the opportunities that lie here in our community, and they think they need to migrate somewhere else in order to achieve their goals. We want to change that stigma by opening students' eyes to the endless amount of opportunities and introduce them to the resources that they have at hand.
And for those that are not currently students, we want to bring a research lab to this community because we believe that education is a lifelong venture.
In order to target the younger generation to stay in Fishers, entrepreneurship is an important topic to focus on. Making internships and opportunities more well-known and available is key to helping our future generations stay.
So the internship quiz or questionnaire that we mentioned is not a long-term plan. It's a short-term plan for a long-term foundation. The purpose of this internship Match.com style quiz will help kids find more and better suited internships. We met with Brandon Cloud, who is a part of the student success team. This administration works at both high schools to help find better fitted internships for high school students. He stressed the importance of finding the best suited internships for people and mentioned his desire to find a better way to match these people. Bringing a research lab into Fishers will also help inspire entrepreneurial startups in the area and draw creative and innovative minds to further create a unique culture in this community. Research labs, similar to think tanks, work towards technological innovations and education of its members, but also have a trickle-down effect to help the entire community. In our research and interviews early on in the year, we've noticed that students are ignorant to the fact that there are more opportunities in Fishers than it may at first seem. And it's crucial to make the concept of entrepreneurship and businesses more familiar, and we can aid in this process for students by presenting Brandon Cloud and his student success team to the schools with a brief presentation every single year, because since they are so new and they've only been around about a year, not many people know about them or are aware of the opportunities that they have. So giving this presentation during the school day will be a brief introduction, so at least all students are aware of their presence.
By creating and making aware of more internships and opportunities, it is helping show the kids, the future of Fishers, that there is indeed many windows of opportunity to grow and develop in our growing town. Many young adults do not see the vast opportunities that lie in Fishers and don't think to stay here after school. In order to keep our town growing and developing, young adults must thrive here to keep our town from being a ghost town. Specifically, programs need to be set up in schools that help kids focus more on their goal and steps to achieve it. The topic of entrepreneurship, internships young adults can take part of, and the opportunities that lie in Fishers need to be enforced to kids at a young age. Guidance and mentorship is required to help kids succeed, which is why in the school there needs to be types of people with professions to help kids achieve their goals.
The happier students are with their internships and how well suited they are for them will determine how hard they work and how well they succeed. Their impressive work will draw more companies to partner with and to help create a lasting culture for the citywide campus and for the internship plan, as well as foster students' knowledge and understanding of entrepreneurship in Fishers and by getting them involved in it. Going back to the research labs I mentioned earlier, these will not only bring people into the community, but also money. Research labs often draw grants from the research, then get funding that is often invested back into projects that'll help the community. So increasing awareness that citizens have of opportunities and connecting the people of all ages to the community will form an unbreakable bond. And these bonds will help people feed their talents and time back into the community, and that is why entrepreneurship is so important.
Thank you.
Hold on, they may have questions.
Don't run off. Questions?
Sure,
Comments from
I have some
council?
questions. Great job, ladies. Thank you very much. As an entrepreneur in here in Fishers myself, you talked about this research lab. Do you have a vision of what that first project might be?
The research labs can really be whatever we want them to. And I know with Launch Fishers and their new IoT lab, it could be similar to that, but it could be anything.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'm curious, as students, you talked about the stigma that exists, and I'm curious what you're hearing and feeling among your own classmates. Is that changing as opportunities have become more plentiful around here, and there are other things that are going on?
Yeah, definitely. So I've noticed this throughout like my high school career. A lot of my friends, as they were younger, were saying, oh, as soon as I'm done with high school, like I'm going to college, like across the country or in a different country, and I just want to get out of here. But then last year, as we started looking into colleges and we started looking into the community, and especially this year, people have realized that there's a lot more opportunities than they realize, and how good the schools are around here and things like that. And 90% of my friends have decided to stay nearby, and I think the more we get those opportunities out and people know, especially at a younger age, that the more they'll stay.
I agree with what Riley said. Kids don't really realize how many opportunities that lie here. And I think that the more that we recognize entrepreneurs that are here in Fishers, the more we can look up to them and realize that it is possible for us to start a business and be as successful here in Fishers.
What would you two like to do in your future based on your research?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I'm still a junior, so I have a little bit of time to think about that.
Yeah,
for office.
Maybe.
yeah, I'm going to IU next year for environmental science, actually, and the amount of opportunities I've seen, even with the, man, I'm forgetting the term for it now, but the plant lab.
Wastewater treatment plant lab? Yeah.
Yeah, just all of that stuff. I'm realizing how much there is here and how I can take what I'm learning at IU and come back and really make something here.
So you got to give these ladies credit. They picked the one subject matter that's the hardest to pronounce, entrepreneurship. So great job, ladies.
So there was a great debate on who was to go first. So once that ice was kind of broken, what we really kind of started to see with these groups is that there are some themes that just work really well together and match up, and that a lot of these ideas, while they do kind of go off in completely different directions, have some underlying foundations. So with that, our education team is going to be coming up next.
We're all staring at you.
Good evening. My name is Rahel Thanawala,
My name is Matt Meyer.
And my name is Lucas Ball.
and on behalf of the Mayor's Youth Council here in Fishers, Indiana, Education Committee, we would like to share our thoughts and opinions on how to improve and innovate our education system here in Fishers. We understand that we are one of the best districts in the nation when it comes to education, but who better to have consult than the students who live this life every day? So currently, with our education system, there are a few blaring issues. The first being our classroom work environment. In the majority of our classes, we are expected to prepare for a test, oftentimes standardized, when quite simply that is not an accurate metric of student achievement. When there are more effective techniques to evaluating a student. Another issue that us students often face is preparing for the real world in our school environment. Instead of learning how to network, think critically, work with others, and learn important and essential communication skills, we are often not in a team environment or collaborating, something which our school is working to improve on, but it currently fails to address. Another issue that I see with our education system is the lack of technology and embracing of it. So we live in a world of growing technology that's rapidly increasing, but there seem to be not many technology classes offered to us high school students. And the ones that are offered are almost archaic. So we're not really learning the essential skills for the real world, which we need for embracing technology and in the workplace too. And finally, there is a weak connection between the community and our school district. Students are expected to take 4 years of classes in the high school without any hands-on or technical experience in their areas of interest. Our school recently has offered internships, but we'll touch on that later. But we're just simply not finding enough opportunities for our students to get their real-life hands-on experience in finding these internships.
There are several problems in today's classroom environment we would like to address. Okay. The first problem is the learning style of students. Most of the things we learn are based on memorization of the material and the ability to recall it on test day. There is not enough skill-based learning and problem solving. Another problem is the teaching style of some teachers. There is currently an excessive amount of lecturing and note-taking, and there is not enough input from students. Also in the classroom, there is limited collaboration. The lack of collaboration may be a reason for the poor communication skills among our generation. Finally, our school does a great job of preparing students for college. This is great, however, there is not enough real-world preparation. Our students are not learning the necessary skills to be successful in today's society. To fix the issues I addressed, we need to create a better classroom environment for our students. We want an interactive and collaborative environment where students can work together and problem solve. This would not only teach the class material, but it would also teach valuable life skills. We want less memorization-based learning and more learning and applying of skills. We want less lecturing from teachers and more student input. We also would like to adopt the 7-20-10 learning model. This means that 10% of learning comes from lecturing from the teachers, 20% comes from somebody showing and working through the problem with you, and 70%, the majority of the time, is spent by you actually doing the work, overcoming problems, and working through it yourself. We believe that is the best way to learn. Just by changing the teaching and learning styles at our schools, we can also teach life skills such as communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork. Finally, our school system cares too much about test scores. We do understand that our school is ranked by ISTEP and our standardized test scores. But why should we care? We should care more about producing the best students and not the best test scores.
We firmly believe that internships are tremendously beneficial to high school students, but one, they are poorly advertised, and two, there is very little amount available for students. Internships are important because they put students in an engaging environment, help students find and develop their own skill sets, help students develop independence, which also builds maturity, help students learn real-world applicable skills, and help students learn how to interact socially in a workplace environment, which is extremely important. Even though we know that internships can be beneficial to students, the HSC school district failed to inform and advertise these amazing opportunities for the bright students. At Fishers High School, there are 2,964 students enrolled, but only around 180 internships available. Our opportunities need to be talked about more. Students should understand why finding an internship is extremely helpful for them, and they should be able to find one that suits them best so their skills can grow. Internships not only help the specific student, but also help the community and the culture of Fishers. The more the students are involved with the businesses and the companies located around Fishers, the more in touch and involved the schools will be with the community.
So let me ask you a question. Across all industries, what do you think 50% of the top paying jobs include? Anyone? Any guesses?
Technology?
Technology, exactly.
Do I get a gold star?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So they all require technology experience in one way or another. And all jobs in the computing and information technology fields are expected to grow by 13% by the year 2026. So that means almost 550,000 jobs are going to be added to our US markets. So what's the problem? Why aren't we preparing our students for technology-based skills if there's a clear demand? Well, firstly, the number of classes offered at HSC schools is limited, and because technology-related classes aren't offered until later in high school, students aren't really exposed to the right opportunities to introduce themselves and familiarize themselves with education. They really don't have a clue whether they like technology or not because they simply haven't been exposed to it, and this can be a problem, especially since there's a high demand for technology jobs. So, to be honest, technology is our future, and if we don't embrace it, our students are going to fall flat on their faces in the next 10 years as they enter the workforce, especially in this age of technology. Therefore, it's simply essential for the students, for the success of our students, that a computer education class for at least 2 semesters be a requirement to graduate from Hamilton Southeastern schools. If some students don't enjoy the class, that's perfectly fine, but it's about getting our students engaged in something that will be beneficial to them and essential to them in the upcoming years. If they don't like the class, that's fine, but at least they learned the skills that at least they learned the skills adequately, which they're going to use in the future. Secondly, it's imperative that we equip all students in K-12 education with the basic technology education starting at a young age. We don't start learning mathematics in high school, do we? No. We start learning in kindergarten, probably even earlier. So why is it any different for computer science technology education? An approach like this would also get kids interested at a young age and in probably the quickest growing industry. But as I'm sure all of you know, without teachers, this isn't going to get anywhere. So it's imperative that we have more computer education teachers in all grades, K through 12, who would serve as mentors for our youth and allow for a richer learning environment and diversity. So you might all think that we're all negative and don't see the bright side, but look, we want the best for our schools, and these are the objectives which we want to accomplish. Firstly, We want our students to be equipped with technology skills. We have spoken to students, parents, and teachers who are mostly all in support of this initiative. I really firmly believe that we can address this need in our schools by deeming computer education and K-12 education as a core subject. Secondly, the classroom environment needs to change. We have to teach our students what they will use in the real world by shifting to a teaching and learning model that values collaboration and instead of memorization and working alone. And lastly, we believe that the school and community need to enhance their connection with each other, which would in turn give us students a chance to enrich our education by getting hands-on experience in careers which we care about through internships and other opportunities. At the end of the day, we're privileged to live in Fishers and go to Hamilton Southeastern schools. But there are things that could be improved, and we want to make our schools the best they can be to prepare us for success and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. First of all, don't ever apologize for your opinion. Seriously, don't apologize. The only way things change or people grow and learn is by asking questions and pushing back. So, very good job. I know a few want to share some things. My question is, the barrier to internships. Where do you feel, when you say poorly communicated, where do you guys, give me just a little bit about your feeling on that and specifics.
I think that internships are just poorly advertised at HSE. Like, if you search for Hamilton Southeastern High School internships, a page comes up on the HSE website of just a paragraph. Really nothing, no information there. We would propose creating a separate website linked to the HSE schools website that shows all the different opportunities, everything about the different opportunities and contact information that we can get a hold of. Because right now there's really just no way where we can see all the different opportunities that are available for us.
Okay.
And gentlemen, great job, very, very insightful stuff, and Matt, right, is it Matt?
Yeah.
I'm really happy you have a lot better presentation skills than your father, so, very happy about that.
He's over there. Yeah.
Here's my question, as a father and a taxpayer, okay, who has a junior at HSE and a daughter who went through the entire school HSE system from kindergarten all the way up through graduation, how are we gonna judge you guys? How are we gonna judge if we wanna put money towards the schools if you guys don't like standardized tests, you don't like memorization, you don't like all the measures that you're gonna do? How are we gonna measure you in order to fund it, right? Because that's really what it's gonna come down to. If you're gonna convince somebody that this is a plan you're gonna have to take, in my opinion, you've got a bunch of people, and I'm using that word very generously, down at the legislature who are very hard to move sometimes, right, in terms of things. And it all comes down to funding, and to us taxpayers, right, that I'm putting my child in the care of the HSE school system, and you're telling me there's a lot of those things that you guys are doing there which don't work, okay? So how am I gonna know if they're doing a good job?
Yeah, we're just, our goal here is just less emphasis on the test scores like you mentioned. We just want to make sure, because right now I feel like our schools are preparing us to get the good SAT score, the good grades and everything, which is great, definitely beneficial because that's how our school is ranked and everything like that. But we just want to also make sure that we're getting the necessary skills that will benefit us later in life also. There's really no way to measure that. That's the problem with that. But just a little less emphasis on the test scores and a little more emphasis on the life skills.
Well, I think these guys did a great job answering some questions, and I also want to mention that, oh, we got one more? Okay. All right.
I got a
Yeah.
question
David's got a
here.
question.
All right, okay.
We got several questions, Mayor.
All right, here we go. I do want to point out Dr. Alan Borf is in the audience tonight as school superintendent.
He's
so,
taking notes back
He's taking
there.
notes back.
I have a question here regarding your technology. You say that the technology is needed more in the classrooms. Most of the students have cell phones. Most of them have iPads that they're using. But what I'm hearing from parents is that teachers are not allowed to tell students they can't surf the internet and play their video games with the technology that they're having within the classrooms. How do we balance having the technology there for educational purposes without it being a distraction?
So it's actually unfortunate that our generation uses technology the most, but we don't know why it works or how to utilize it. It's like you could compare it to driving a car but not knowing how it works, right? So our emphasis isn't more so on how you can get our students to be more on task, but we would like to address that by project-based learning and having group projects instead of simple standardized testing. But we think that if we educate our students on technology, such as computer science skills, informatics skills, and just basic, like how to use a computer, really, it will be beneficial to them in the future, because I'm sure I see all of you with computers out, and if our students aren't adequately skilled in technology, they won't be able to be successful in the real world. But to answer your question, how can we ensure that students are working with their technology? Well, that all comes with independence, and I think there's a heavy burden set by the schools that if you don't do well on a test, or if you're failing all your classes, you'll get a detention, there will be negative punishments. But I think that negative reinforcement really isn't going to work out here, and you should give students more opportunities to express themselves rather than just testing them on arbitrary skills.
With your philosophy of teaching being done in a different way and not being negative about the existing teachers today, do you feel you would be better taught, let's say an entrepreneurial class should be taught by an entrepreneur instead of an education teacher?
So I've seen a lot of my teachers actually develop an innovative learning style. Many of them have shifted from what I know in the past, a lecture-based class to project-based learning, experiential learning type of class. And yes, it's true that if we had an entrepreneur in our classroom, he would know a lot about teaching, but, I mean, he would know a lot about entrepreneurship, but what does he know about teaching? So, yeah,
Also going off that, I did take an entrepreneurship class freshman year, and the teacher was an entrepreneur. So kind of two birds with one stone. He was a great guy, and it was really beneficial to have his mind in the room. And then also his teaching style was exactly aligned with what we would like to push, more independent studies and more we'd lead the class and less lecturing. And I think that was a great experience just to have that class. Yes, he did. Yeah.
So I don't want to be genuinely rude here, but we do have a few more to go tonight. So if we could maybe move to the next one so that we're not keeping everybody waiting in suspense. But these guys did an amazing job. Great job, guys.
Good job. 7 more to go, right? 7 more groups? Three.
Oh, you're good. Yep, no problem. Coming up next here, a little bit of a departure. We're going to actually talking about crime just in the lens of the future of Fishers. So if our subcommittee could come on up.
That's, oh, gosh.
You got busted.
Oh, way to go, Eric. All right, moving on. Yep.
All right, so my name is Abby Vitale. And I'm Alexa Kays. And with Fishers being selected as one of the best places to live recently, Fishers also has a reputation of being a safe place to live. In order to uphold this reputation, we have a few suggestions that we'd like you to consider. To begin with, we need to build upon the current foundation of safety that we have already established. And one way to accomplish this is by protecting our citizens from common crimes affecting Fishers residents. One of the most common crimes worldwide is tech-related crimes. For example, stolen identity. With the lack of knowledge on how to protect yourself in the digital age, Fishers residents have found themselves vulnerable to these attacks. I believe education can empower Fishers residents to help combat tech-related crimes. One of the great things about Fishers is that we have the people and the tools to provide outreach and education. For example, first, we can create online tools such as a website, social, video, etc., to help residents learn about online privacy, security, and social concerns. We can get the word out about these online tools that are available and gather feedback from the public through Fishers social accounts such as Twitter, Facebook, the newsletter we send out, email, and some digital advertising targeting Fishers residents. Then quarterly, we host a fun, engaging, and educational lunch and learn or TED Talk type sessions given by tech companies at our truly Launch Fishers. This not only helps educate people, but gives a personal touch to a complicated situation. Lastly, as a community, we need to help. Oh, I'm so sorry. The last part of educating the public is a mix between the people who commit the crimes and our local government coming together. As a part of rehabilitation for convicted criminals, they can do a series of blogs, videos, or in story form to educate people on the things to look out for in common crimes. For example, someone giving tips on how to protect your home if they have broken into homes or cars before. Lastly, as a community, we need to help lower the recidivism rates. Last year, they were at nearly 40%, and they've continued a growth trend from past years. One way we combat this growth is through helping people that are convicted become citizens in our community again by giving them a purpose. Our mayor, Mayor Fadness, has created a progressive program called the RISE program to help people that are currently incarcerated work with the Public Works Department. One flaw in the system is that the workers are to find their own transportation, which results in them not showing up for work, not showing back up to jail, or relapsing on drugs and crime during the time. One way we can solve this is through shuttles, or school buses that are not being used during the day. Another way is through a program like Uber, where citizens that are unemployed or have free time during the day, such as a stay-at-home mom, they can offer their services to drive them to and from work. These citizens can have their gas that they use paid for or a tax break from our local government. Another flaw is that the work is off-site. Having a work program inside the jail could solve this. Having inmates mop, sweep, mow the lawn, garden, etc. for 20 to 50 cents an hour can help them afford their commissary and help fund their legal counsel.
All right. So in conclusion, Fishers is a safe place for families to live and thrive, but in order to maintain this reputation, we need to initiate some changes. Fishers is a rapidly growing city, and our aim is to ensure that all citizens feel safe when exploring what the city has to offer. Focusing on crime that circulates throughout Fishers, we need to pay close attention to and educate our citizens on identity theft and cybercrime. As Abby explained, we believe this education can be achieved through school classes, websites, newsletters, and convocations. We believe that education is one of the most powerful and efficient tactics that can be used to prevent most types of crime. In addition, Abby and I paid close attention to the recidivism rates that occur around us. Lowering these recidivism rates was a main focus for us in combating crime. And we believe that we can do this by issuing work options in local jails, by establishing a transportation system for the RISE program. Thank you, and we hope to maintain the safe community that Fishers currently is today.
Thank you, good job. Any questions, comments? No questions.
Perfect.
Well, you answered everything. That's awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Second to last, and this is something that's a little bit further overreaching, we're going to talk about globalization.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So you might be wondering what a global city is, or how it even applies to Fishers in our small and growing city.
So a global city is not necessarily a city like LA or Chicago or big like that. It is a city that is dynamic, vibrant, diverse, and with multiple different business practices. Every city should strive to be a global city. One issue that we have in Fishers is that in order to see the bigger picture, a city that sees the bigger picture is able to attract a diverse amount of people from different backgrounds, and a global issue tends to rally citizens and bind a community together. While Fishers has successful sustainability and revitalization programs, it's time to become a leader and an innovator to protect our Fishers environment for the future. Secondly, following RFRA, Indiana has experienced huge setbacks in terms of social equality as well as damage to our business sector. We lost the ability to attract a diverse population. By combating social inequality, we will see a rise in companies not only willing to settle down in Fishers, but wanting to. Fishers has ignored deep-rooted social issues such as social inequality and global warming. It's time to become proactive and a leader in this area. And in order to do that, we should start by taking action. So this means by improving our environmental stewardship, by initiating a carbon index, which will then allow us to set reduction goals by 2038. Following that, we should ask companies for solar energy pitches and a return on investment in order to get our return on money. Next, we should look into green streets, which would allow us not only to combat the problem of runoff and flooding that Fishers has, but also to create positive environmental impacts.
So solving existing problems is Fishers' most effective way of impacting our environment right away. A way to do this is to have the Fishers Transportation Task Force partner with the Central Indiana Regional Transportation Authority to allow us to reduce transportation inefficiencies and manage traffic on major roads like I-69 and overall reducing CO2 emissions. Connecting with the community and gaining support is critical for success in our environmental efforts. Involving students in high school clubs that have already been working for years will be a key point to launching the community effort. This would also create lasting passion for students and therefore the future of Fishers, as they integrate these habits into their lifestyles. Environmental changes are lifestyle changes, and the younger we get people started, the more their habits will stick.
Secondly, on the social issues. So Fishers is behind on social equality. Muncie, Whitestown, Hammond, Zionsville, and Columbus have already passed LGBTQ anti-discrimination ordinances. We, alongside with Gary, Indiana, are two of the largest cities that have yet to do so. I urge the council to consider passing an anti-discrimination ordinance in the future. It is also essential to involve the community in social change. The City of Fishers should pair with the Gender and Sexuality Alliance of FHS and HSC High School in order to strategize and further listen to the community that is already in Fishers. And Fishers should also adopt an intercultural integration approach as we grow as a community in order to fight discrimination and increase community vibrance. This approach outlines the characteristics of an accepting city, such as a body to represent minorities and cultural activities within the community. Lastly, combating social inequality as Fishers grows is extremely important. As such, the Land Use Task Force for Fishers should consider increasing socioeconomic housing options and focus efforts on building a diverse community for the future. I would like to thank you and encourage you to take action and make change in Fishers.
Thank you very much. Question I have, Dr. Borf, how many spoken languages are in the schools? I hear different numbers. Do you roughly in the HSC district? No, I'm talking about the population, it's the student population, native languages. 40 to 50 different languages within our schools. That's changed a lot since I moved here in '89 when I was 16. It's a big difference. That's incredible. So there definitely is a diverse community we need to look out for. Any questions or comments from council? Thank you. Oh, did you? Okay.
I was just thinking about this when you said, would you guys support, or do you think it would be important to have an immersion program? Because I've got cousins that live in North Carolina, other parts of the country, and myself, I studied Latin and Spanish in high school, but obviously you move on and you don't really get immersed into that. You just have it for 1 hour out of the day. But what they do is from basically first grade through fourth grade, you already know English or your main language when you start, so that's when you go to school for those years, and your entire curriculum, the entire time you're in school is in that language, and you learn it effectively, and then you move back to another point where you have both languages. And I've always wondered that for the HSC school district. Do you think something like that would help as far as when you get out, thinking things globally?
I think that would be extremely important, and our other groups could speak to that as innovating in education, the same as you would with technology. You can do the same with our growing globalized city. So if we set up a group of people determined in order to represent our minorities in our community, I think that would be even more possible.
Well, thank you very much. Good job.
All right, last but not least, and this is either a blessing or a challenge, but our last Mayor's Youth Council participant, Claire Davis, handled the mental health topic. So didn't exactly have a whole bunch of experts on hand to grill throughout the entire year. That was a bad joke and some sarcasm, but we'll bring Claire on up.
Hi, my name is Claire Davis. I'm a senior at Fishers High School. Hamilton Southeastern schools invest so much into their students. If they truly care about the future of their students, they will make mental health one of their top priorities. As a school district, we always strive to be high performing, but in order to maintain that high performance, we must focus on the importance of the students' mental health. I believe that if the school truly cares about the safety, well-being, and future of its students, then requiring mental health detection training for all teachers and faculty should become a priority. Teachers must be educated on what to do if a student suffering from a mental illness confides in them. They must also be trained with skills to possibly detect the signs of mental illness so they are able to assist a student in finding help before they're able to hurt themselves or somebody else. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, isn't this why we hire our guidance counselors? But in high school, for example, we see our guidance counselors for twice a semester for maybe 15 minutes. And what we have time to discuss in that session is scheduling, GPA, like did we get into college, are we applying, what scholarships are we getting? So there's no opportunity for us to talk about our home life or the stress of balancing school and extracurriculars and an after-school job, or even the stress of life after high school. So to many high schoolers, we see our counselors as just career counselors because we just don't have an opportunity for them to get to know us personally. And now I don't doubt the counselors want that opportunity to get to know us, but we have a pretty big school district. From what I understand, I know Fishers has, I think, 9 or maybe 12 guidance counselors that represent the students, and it's a student body of almost 3,000. So that's a lot of people for them to be concerned with. But on the other hand, these are the kinds of relationships that we're building with our teachers, who we see 5 times a week for almost an hour. They're the ones that know the students best. They know our work habits, how we interact with our peers, our greatest strengths and weaknesses. It is likely that students struggling with mental illness would first confide in a teacher before making a trip all the way down to the guidance office. But with teachers in this position, it is so incredibly valuable for them to receive mental health detection training. They need to know what to do with this information given to them if a student chooses to confide in them so that they can receive the proper help immediately. Now, I ask that the Hamilton Southeastern School District requires their teachers and faculty to receive mental health detection training every school year. I say every school year because we are constantly learning when it comes to how to treat people that are suffering with this illness. So it's important that these trainings stay up to date. Mental health training should be thought of as something that is just as valuable as CPR or first aid training would be to the teachers. If teachers are educated on mental health, they may be able to detect if a student is struggling and find them help before that student hurts themselves or someone else, like I said. The City of Fishers has been working so hard around the topic of mental health, but if we don't find additional resources and just ignore the needs of the students who are the future of the city, then that will begin to undo all the hard work.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question, Claire. What level of responsibility do you think the students have to help identify mental health issues within the schools?
I do think it is important that we're looking out for our peers, but like I said, there's a lot of students we can't, I don't think that responsibility should be pushed onto us. Like, obviously if somebody in my friend group was suffering, I would know, because I'm involved with this group, I know about the mental health resources at our school, so I feel like I would feel comfortable in helping with that, but I would also feel more comfortable referring them to a teacher that I know has this training that could then see them through to getting to the guidance office so they don't go home without any help. And then also something that I didn't mention in my speech was that Fishers does have a full-time therapist, but it's not made very clear that we have that. I don't think it's very well advertised, so I don't trust that the student body knows that we have those resources. And if you look on the Hamilton Southeastern School website, and I did look on like an elementary school, a junior high, and a high school to make sure this was right all across the board, there's only a list of like a couple suicide hotlines under the guidance services that are offered, or it says if you feel like there's a need for mental health assistance outside of school, have your parents contact the guidance counselor, but that's going under the assumption that your parents even believe that mental illness is a real illness. So I think we need to have that security within the school to benefit the students.
I have a question. So, a lot of times, the one that's mentally ill can often be a loner, someone who doesn't socialize with their peers and maybe doesn't socialize even with the teachers. They just don't relate to people. How would you propose reaching out to these isolated students within your student body?
Well, I'm not a mental health professional, but we do have really big stigma-free clubs at our schools, and I think they're trying to encourage that. While they're getting people that do not suffer from mental illness, they're also trying to encourage people that do suffer from mental illness to be a part of this community. But with the idea that they're loners, I think like even the teachers kind of have an idea of who they are as a person, so I think that's why this detection training would be so valuable.
Anything else? Good job. Thank you very much. Terrific. And
on behalf of Fishers Parks, I just want to quickly, I know we've taken a lot of council's time this evening, but I just want to say thank you for listening to these students this evening. They worked a lot this year. I want to say thanks to Mayor Fadness and Deputy Mayor McGrath for mentoring them throughout the year. I'd also like to say a big thank you to the HSE School District, who have been absolutely phenomenal peers and partners in this process and this evolution of the Mayor's Youth Council.
So Dan, if I could jump in, I mean, I think you guys absolutely killed it tonight. You did a great job. It's been a real privilege for Leah and I to work alongside all of you. And you spoke with passion and insight that is well beyond your years of experience. And if I only had that composure at that age, maybe I would have ended up not a politician. But in any regard, my commitment to all of you, having gone through the Mayor's Youth Council and come up here today and spoke like you did, if there's anything that I can do to open any doors for you guys in the future, whether that's internships, college, job applications, just getting to know people in the public policy world, myself and I know my team around me will be committed to making sure that you guys are as successful as possible, because we were just so impressed with your work. So thank you all for taking the time and the interest, and I am certain I'll see many of you around the public policy world shortly. So with that, please give them one more round of applause.
And on that note, I want to back up just a quick second. One of the proclamations was the Week of the Young Child, and some people may not know what that means. Just for a brief moment, I think there's some in attendance that work with the young children. Would you stand, those that are here? If somebody could come forward, or you all, just somebody real briefly, would you share with the audience what that means?
The Week of the Young Child?
Yes.
I'm Jody Britton.
Yep.
So we have in-home daycare, faith-based daycare,
Yeah,
private daycare.
come on up so everybody can hear you. Yeah, come on up.
I really don't like my.
It's all right. It won't bite.
Okay. We have in-home daycare, faith-based, private, emerging, and public. So we have all of our representatives here today, which is awesome. The Week of the Young Child is a national celebration of the children, the caregivers, the educators, the families of kids birth through age 8.
Yeah.
So it's really just a national recognition that those kids matter, the parents matter, all these people that work with our kids every day matter, and they need some acknowledgement.
That's great. Thank you for all you do. Thank you very much.
And if
I think it
could,
was.
Todd, if
Yeah.
I could just ask the Mayor's Youth Council to meet me out in the lobby real quick as you guys move on to consent agenda. I'd
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right. All right, let's, as they're moving out there, give them a second, and then Selena. United. Is there anyone from the United Way here that wishes to share? I didn't see anybody out here. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss you. All right. Finance Committee reports. Chairwoman Stoller, Finance Committee Chair, any updates?
We do not have any updates from the Finance Committee. There was no meeting this month. As the controller,
I
at
don't
the
think
time
they
of the meeting.
Maybe move that up. I can go.
Somebody who's here for the United Way.
Oh, somebody here from the United Way. Oh, yes. Okay.
Let her
All right.
finish her report.
Yeah, go ahead
Okay,
and do your report, and then I'll have you speak.
So due to no items for the agenda, at the time that we had the
Okay.
meeting scheduled, there was no reported,
All
no
right.
report.
Thank you very much. Could you share real briefly about the United Way and this proclamation?
Sure. So on Friday, April 20th, United Way of Central Indiana will be celebrating 100 years in Central Indiana. This is one of our biggest celebrations. We are doing at Indiana Motor Speedway. We still have lots of seats available. It's going to be one of the biggest spectacular of hand raisers. It's a celebration Central Indiana wants to do for those who have volunteered and made commitments to our community. And I know that City of Fishers is also going to make a proclamation on 20th, and on 19th, we have more than 100 projects running throughout the city and the Central Indiana communities, where we are actually going to have an hour of power, basically 1 hour of volunteering, and lots of communities within Fishers also, I'm aware, who are actually doing lots of service projects. So if anybody's interested, go to www.uwci.org and sign up. I know there are 100 heroes also being recognized on that day.
Thank you very much for all
you.
your service.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Terrific. 100 years, wow.
100 years, yeah, that's amazing. All right, a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's move on to a regular agenda. R041618B.
For the record, Lisa Bradford, City Controller. The item you have before you, this is simply the next step in the approval process for the financing of the new police station. So after the public hearing, we're asking council to approve the resolution approving the execution of the lease. And then this resolution also approves issuance by Town Hall Building Corporation of bonds for the police station project.
All right, any questions or comments from council? I'm sorry. Sorry, we need a public hearing first. I'll open up for public input. Anyone wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to provide input. No one wishes to step forward. We'll go ahead and close the public input session. Now, any questions or comments from council?
Just a motion to approve.
Just a quick question. Because this is the first time we've conducted a project this way, what are the parameters of whether it's inspection or whatnot before closing and assuming the lease?
Yeah, so that's.
Just refresh my memory real quick.
Sure, so we're planning to be substantially complete with the police station in August of this year, and before that, we'll have a full punch-out list, just like any normal construction project, before we purchase the asset back pursuant to this agreement.
Any other questions or comments from council? We have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to R041618C.
Hello, for the record, Megan Baumgartner, Assistant Director of Economic Development. Tonight, I have a resolution for approving ThyssenKrupp's North America new research location here in Fishers. This is approving their statement of benefits that was brought before council in December, with 150 new jobs to Fishers, approximately $81,000 for their average salary. And this is also approving their the personal property tax abatement. So, if you recall from December, it's been a few months. It's ThyssenKrupp Questa. They manufacture and market the high technology steering columns. It's really going to be an innovative part of autonomous vehicles moving forward. They're currently in Indianapolis and they're adding significant headcount and again relocating it to Fishers. So the city has offered them a 5-year 100% personal property tax abatement. It's approximately $635,000 that they anticipate in personal property purchases, mostly in manufacturing equipment and IT equipment. So roughly that'll come out with our current tax rate to about $29,000 in personal property abatement over the next 5 years total.
Okay. Any questions or comments from council?
How come we're giving them 5 years at 100% instead of the 100, 80, 60, 40, 20 that we normally do?
It was front loading it. Since personal property depreciates so rapidly, it was easier and more effective for them to get that money front loaded.
Because, yeah, with depreciation being 7 years, by the time it comes off, we're only collecting 2 years worth. At 25%, that's all that's left. The equipment after 5 years is depreciated to 75.
Sure.
Why are we being so generous? It's a $10 billion company. It's not like they need help.
It was an extra incentive for them to be able to make that final decision to come to Fishers.
And then we're giving them $50,000 on top of the 5-year 100%. Why are we giving them $50,000?
So that was to help with their relocation and capital expenses, since this lab that they're building here in Fishers is pretty expensive.
So is this what we're gonna start a precedent, that any company wants to come here, we'll give you cash and give you a
Well,
abatement?
my recollection, I'd love to maybe place an emphasis on the salary level that was involved with this company, because it was substantial, and I think that.
81,000.
Yeah, is that what it was?
Yeah. 81,000.
Okay, I knew it was approaching $100,000, and that was a big driver
81.
when I know this was originally being considered.
Yes.
And filling vacant space.
Exactly.
And filling vacant space.
Right.
Yeah, it says number additional, 150, 81,000.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay. All right, Brad with one. All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to resolution R041618E.
Good evening, councilors. For the record, Brandon Dickinson, Director of Economic Development. I have for you, let me play with the computer real quick. the economic development / project agreement for Flexware Innovation, known as AMP Northwest LLC. This project is part of the RFP the city put out for the properties north of the amphitheater that the city currently owns and serves as a dirt parking lot for a lot of our amphitheater events. And so the city put out an RFP requesting proposals, and after a lot of due diligence, the city landed on a couple of project winners, the first of which will roll out tonight. That's Flexware. The project deals are pretty basic, but a little information about Flexware. Flexware Innovation is basically an engineering firm currently located here in Fishers. They focus on assisting manufacturers to operate efficiently with real-time business intelligence and automation solutions. Flexware Innovation has a very important and prominent role in our Internet of Things technologies and has been a significant partner in that endeavor. So with the announcement of their success and growth, they decided that it was time to build a new headquarters and wanted to keep it in Fishers, and had proposed to purchase the land here on the west side of the Municipal Drive north of the amphitheater for a price of $100,000, and would commit to construct an approximately $3.5 million building, square footage 20 to 24,000 square feet. One of the items that was brought up by the council was exhibits, and so the reason that number is still a little bit flexible, the 20 to 24,000, is they haven't quite finished out site planning and space planning the building. There could be a little bit of a flexibility there where the building could grow in size. We have some kind of position or demonstrative exhibits in your packets that are in front of you. As we engineer the site, those will start to get polished up as far as what the actual parcel space will be. The abatement is estimated at approximately $208,000 over 5 years. I mentioned that they would purchase the site from the Redevelopment Commission for $100,000. There'd be an impact fee waiver of approximately $58,000. And then the city is going to construct a public parking lot north of their building that they will be able to use during business hours, but will also serve after 6 p.m. as public parking for amphitheater, downtown events, etc. The city will also build some additional parking along the ellipse of Municipal Drive with this project to, again, assist the public and help offset some of the parking restrictions that we have with a limited number of parking spots, and we're kind of upgrading from the dirt and gravel we currently have out there. Again, the project comes in at a total of approximately $266,000 in incentives, plus the ability to use that city-constructed parking lot for a $3.5 million investment in downtown Fishers. Brought Kevin Wilson from Flexware Innovation. Kevin, if you want to come forward and maybe mention a couple of the reasons why you were interested in the site and we were able to finally bring something together.
Sure, thank you. I'm here today because our president, Scott Whitlock, is in Valparaiso visiting clients. We just acquired a similar firm in Valpo, picked up 20 employees there doing similar things to what we're doing here. If you'll give me 2 minutes, I can give you the rest of the story of who Flexware is and why we're in Fishers and how long we've been here. Scott Whitlock, the president, started his career right here in Fishers in Northeast Commerce Park, settled in Fishers, graduated Purdue and we came here when there was about 7,000 residents. His first employer moved from Northeast Commerce Park to Noblesville in the old Elks Lodge. 1996, he started the company, and the first offices were in Noblesville, but in 2003, we came back to Fishers and built a building in Northeast Commerce Park, bringing us full circle back to that, and we've been there ever since. Flexware, these days, the big buzzwords is IoT thing, and Flexware was doing IoT before IoT existed, which is, to get this right for Scott, we've basically taken software development, connecting shop floor devices devices, doing data collection and integrating it all together. That's what IoT stuff is, and we've been doing it for 22 years. So as we are growing more rapidly, we rode a few waves up and down, but we've been growing rapidly again. We consider offices our next office space. We looked at opportunities to purchase existing buildings in other communities, one north of here and one south of here. They were much, much cheaper. We looked at a building that we could get 68,000 square feet for the same price that we're putting into this. But we decided that we needed to do something different. We are a self-funded company. Cost was a consideration, but as we continue to grow, the ability to recruit quality employees is paramount. And much like recruiting college athletics, many times the company's facilities make the difference in whether you close the deal or not. And so our intention is to build this as a smart facility that wows people and allows us to bring lots more very highly educated and quality employees into the area.
High school interns?
Some of that, we already do high school interns. We have 8 college interns this summer. So we are trying to reach back as much as we could. We do maybe 1 or 2 high school interns a year. But we are already fully integrated into the town of Fishers. We do interviews at the Well, business lunches at FDR. We've got a platinum card at Top Golf, which we had to put together a website to monitor and check out because of the popularity of that. But the investment that you're making to allow us to remain in the heart of Fishers, I believe will pay itself back many times. Our employees are well paid, and our employees and shareholders have already been and will continue to invest their earnings in Fishers, purchasing homes, investing in commercial property, supporting local schools, churches, not-for-profits. And the bottom line would be an honor for us to locate our headquarters in the heart of the Nickel Plate District and overlooking the amphitheater. Any questions?
Any questions?
We are planning a third floor deck and rooftop thing where we will be able to look over the city of Fishers. We've talked about, can we even get the sound system piped into there? But we're planning on using that extensively.
You just have to be on good behavior because there could be 7,000 people looking at you.
I understand that.
Any other questions or comments?
Just I'll be abstaining for obvious reasons.
All right. Yeah, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Selena. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Rich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then Pete abstains.
I'm abstaining too.
And John abstains. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, moving on to R041618G. Brandon?
Hi, good evening. For the record, my name is Kevin Stotts. I'm the Assistant Director in the Planning and Zoning Department. The next item before you is a request to allow a coffee shop land use in the yard at Fishers District. As many of you are aware, the yard PUD ordinance requires that any drive-up windows, drive-through services, exterior menu boards, and speakers shall be reviewed by the City Council for approval. Thompson Thrift is here tonight to request just that, a drive-through coffee shop use located in the P1 building. So if you can kind of follow the mouse here, building P1 is to the northwest corner of the yard development. If we zoom in a little bit here, you'll see that the proposed Copper Moon Coffee shop will be on the eastern portion of the P1 building. with the drive-through located on the south and east side. The planning department, along with the engineering department, did request a stacking exhibit, which you see here. They were able to show that they can queue 29 cars in the line before it would possibly cause conflict onto the city's 116th Street right-of-way, and then 16 cars could be queued before a potential conflict on IKEA Way. I would point out that the prominent access, the main access, would be from 116th Street, so we anticipate, I should say, the engineering department anticipates that being the more used entrance. I did pass out before the meeting the engineering department, Jeff Hill's memo on this request. In short, he stated that he's reviewed the drive-through request and the ability to stack on-site cars, and feels comfortable with the request as presented. With that, I'll turn it over to Eric with Thompson Thrift to kind of go over the details of the actual user.
Yeah, let's go. All right, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm Eric Wojak with Thompson Thrift. We're excited to introduce briefly tonight Copper Moon Coffee. You're probably familiar with them in their kiosks in the airport, in Eli Lilly, IU Health, Methodist Hospital. So their kiosks have been around town for roughly 7 years. They're a 10-year-old company based in Lafayette, and with the intent of our tenant search and mix and blend, we're excited that's an Indiana-based company, kind of a boutique coffee company, as opposed to maybe the larger national brands, but still very good coffee. And this drive-through is obviously contingent with them signing a lease, so that's why we're here before you a little bit early than a press release, which we would like to do as soon as that lease is signed here in a couple weeks. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments from council?
If,
Put that plot line back up, Kevin. I don't have a green light. You're stacking 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 before you get the people trying to come in your car. And you're really only able to stack 7 without a conflict being started.
Correct, sir, yes. 7 in the actual drive-through lane.
2 or 3 years ago, I think maybe even before I came on council, I thought, and Mayor, to your request, that 116th Street, since you were reconstructing it, no drive-through would go along 116th Street. I know we made the one exception for Portillo's, but I thought we were all in agreement that no drive-through was going to go along.
Yeah, so I think one point of clarification there, you guys actually passed this ordinance, this city council passed the zoning for this project that would allow for a drive-through, but it would come before this council for consideration of approval. So although in general I would agree that I'm not supportive of drive-throughs along 116th Street, when this development was contemplated and the zoning went through this legislative body, you guys allowed for the opportunity for them to come and petition to have a drive-through in this project.
yeah, it's another bite at the apple, is what we said. The question I have is if this body grants the use of a drive-through lane for Copper Moon Coffee, if they don't sign the lease, does that drive-through go away?
I believe our ordinance reads that it is user-specific, and that's why we had to wait until we were at a point where we could
Yeah,
announce.
I just want to make sure that if this body grants it, and I'm probably inclined to let it grant for the coffee store, okay, but I don't want to let that vest automatically in if that does not come to fruition.
And we're fine agreeing, making that clear.
Pete, your approval too, just to be clear, is tied to the specific use, the coffee shop at this specific location.
More of a clarification purposes.
So the coffee shop would take whatever's organized, the east portion of that building,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
So the west portion that would be leased, my concern is, as cars wrap, what kind of impact that has on leasing that space out to a location that, a desirable.
So the west half of that building, we're also at lease with another tenant, which we're not able to name, and we've made it clear that a coffee company with a drive-through will be their tenant, co-tenant, and we've explained and even showed this very exhibit with them, and
So they're perfectly fine
They're very
with,
aware, yes.
with stacking potentially against some of the parking right there?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just kind of, the Starbucks that's up in, near Brick Falls, is a problem every day. And the police should be up there every day, but they aren't. So we have the street blocked off, the parking blocked off, and there's over 20 cars. If you can only stack 7 there, that's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work, that's my opinion.
Yeah, there's double stacked up there now, Brad, at that Starbucks. Did you see that? No, they're doing it now. They've got a median, they cut in a median there, so they're double stacking. Yeah, I was there this morning, and what I noticed, and you're right, because I've been there at times where you're going all the way down the street to the gas station, along with people trying to get in and out. They've double stacked it now, and I think I made it through there this morning in less than a minute. Yeah, literally, they've got 2 lanes coming in there, they're double stacked and gonna come in, so.
Just out of curiosity, is that confined to a certain time of the day, probably morning, I would imagine?
It's rush, for
Yeah,
sure.
rush. So in the morning, the co-tenant of this building, it will work kind of, term we use, counter-cyclical, that the tenant on the west does not serve breakfast, or it's not their main thing. They may be open, I'm uncertain of that, but it's certainly not a breakfast opportunity. So lunch and dinner will be that tenant's main aim. And so hopefully the rush hour of the morning will not have as severe an impact on that tenant.
Yeah, I'm concerned, I mean, I'm not gonna stand in the way of it. I am a little concerned with that wraparound there for that other tenant, but, you know, you guys know better than I do about it, so. Any other questions or comments?
So just clarification, so if the drive-through does not get approved, then is it contingent, is the lease contingent upon the drive-through?
Yes.
It is, okay. Does this, so for those of you that work around that area, I mean, is this something that's needed for those people on that side of, working on that side of the street? I would love to see actually a drive-through coffee shop on the other side of the street, so for people going west, because there's nothing on the west side or on the north side of
Going to
116th,
Workside.
I'm sorry, you know, so.
The well is there with no drive-through. Starbucks is down on 116th in Allisonville, because I do take that, because I go past those ones that are on the left as I'm traveling westbound, because I'm looking for the one on the right. I go all the way down the right. I mean, you make a good point. I'm not saying.
Does this change, I just have another question, does this change the scope of the project in terms of it being a walkable area? That's the only thing, because I thought when it was first presented to us, that it was more to be a walkable area where people would park and walk and.
Yeah, no, we don't believe it does. In fact, we just reviewed today with Kevin and Tony our hardscape plan, landscape plan, and that very point of the connectivity and the pedestrian friendliness between the yard and even 116th Street, and how they're welcomed in, what they see, what they feel. And so we don't believe that that is. And, you know, these types of users, this type of coffee use, drive-through use is obviously attracts a certain type of clientele. We consider it very fortunate we were able to get Copper Moon Coffee, kind of being a boutique coffee, to be able to support and facilitate this location at this rent. And so we're excited for that use. And so to us, it seems very appropriate that would be on the outer part of the project with the pedestrian connectivity there for, you know, if someone wants to park, have a coffee, walk across the lot, down Main Street into the yard and sit for a while or visit another shop, hopefully. We feel that it's been adequately thought through and planned to accommodate that pedestrian walkway.
Do you have any outdoor seating options at the building itself?
There is a patio on the west side for that tenant.
So that'll serve both?
Well, we also have a very small patio that would be connected if they so choose to set a table out there, but they've made it clear a patio isn't critical for them.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from council? I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
And Rich is abstaining. All right, motion
Okay,
passes.
thank you very much.
All right, moving on to, where are we at here? 031918B.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Megan Schaefer. I'm with the Planning and Zoning Department. The item before you is the request to approve an annexation of 6 lots located at 113th in Florida, which is the location of the new agri-park. So this would be third reading, and staff does recommend approval.
If there's no questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve because it's third reading. We've heard this a couple times already, so motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you. All right, moving on, 04161B.
Again, for the record, my name is Megan Schaefer with the Planning and Zoning Department. This next item is for an annexation of 1 lot, generally located west of Florida Road, just south of Southeastern Parkway. This annexation is a part of a PUD text amendment that you guys will see next month. And this is for first and second reading and a public hearing.
All right, so I'll open it up for public comment. Any of those wishing to speak, step forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, we have, that's a good idea. I'm disappointed you didn't bring your green pointer. All right.
Secretary, if you're going to pay.
So we're still open for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Anybody wish to speak? Okay, we'll close public comment. Any questions, comments from council?
Have first and second reading.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on, 041618A.
Good evening. For the record, Taylor Navarre with the Planning and Zoning Department. And if I was savvy enough, like those young kids before me, I can pull up this aerial map.
You're pretty old.
So the item before you tonight is for first and second reading of the annexation, voluntary annexation of 2 lots, which will be known as the Vive Exterior Design site. It's on the south side of East 126th Street, just kind of southeast of Promise Road and west of I-69. It's approximately 3.93 acres, and it's part of a larger project that's going through a rezone as the Vive Exterior Design PUD that was presented at Plan Commission last week and will be before the City Council next month in May for review and approval. So staff is supportive of the request and recommends holding first and second reading and public hearing, and we will be back next month for the fiscal plan. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, first of all, let's open up for public comment. Any of those wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Anybody wishing to step forward? No? We'll close public comment. Any questions for council, questions from council or comments?
Have first and second reading.
All right, thank you. Any unfinished or new business?
Todd, I'd like to make a motion, if we could do this on first reading, that going forward, no temperature below 50 degrees in Fishers.
I was like, wait, what's coming? What's coming on?
No, don't worry. It's okay.
I made a phone call, but the guy hasn't called me back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we're going to open up, one of the new items, last couple months we've done, is open up for community comment. So it's an opportunity for you to step forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. It can be on any topic that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. So, Mike, you step forward.
Good evening, council. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Colby. I live at 7105 Coldyke Drive here in Fishers. I'm here tonight representing, as president of the Homeowners Association, River Glen Homeowners Association. And I'm going to be, one thing about me, I'm tenacious. I try not to be obnoxious. And I'm here tonight to ask you to take a look at the Fishers Crossing Drive and Fishers Landing Drive. And I don't know if this thing works or not. Does it?
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
To familiarize you with what I'm talking about the private road that runs from River Glen Drive, mostly north-south, kind of curves around in front of Kroger's and then exits out on 116th by the Starbucks, which incidentally has a drive-through that is backed up terribly, but that's another story. And the second area is Fisher's Landing, and that's the area that's on the south side of 116th Street, mostly runs north-south. It runs by the Goodyear, down behind CVS. There's a couple of roads that run behind the paint shop, and then it runs, curves around out by what is now, it used to be Crystal Flash, it's now used car lot. I know you've seen this before. I've been on the town council. It's been brought up then. But the condition of those two roads are terrible, and they're getting worse. I drove it today, and there are, outside the McDonald's, as you exit the parking lot, there's a pothole that's about 2 feet wide and about 6 inches deep, and that's one of the worst I've seen out there. There are others that are not quite as bad. On the other side of the street, on Fisher's Landing, it appears to me that part of the road is sinking. I'm not an engineer, but the way it looks like it's been a trench that was built there for some road work, and now it's starting to sink. Those roads, I went to the courthouse, there are plats that have been filed back in 1990 and 1988 on both those things. And there's a covenant, and the covenant states that first off, they're considered private drives, and that they would be owned and maintained by the declarant or an association of owners of the blocks in this edition to which the declarant may convey such public streets. Now, in February of 1997, a dedication of right-of-way was recorded at the Hamilton County Recorder's Office. I have the instrument number for that. I won't waste my time to give you that. And the land, the plat was dedicated and conveyed to the town of Fishers
All right, Mike, thank you.
for public use.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you very much. All right?
Can we just get to a summary of what you'd
Yeah,
like
just a
to?
quick
In summary,
summary.
I'd like for you to take a look at those covenants to see if, one, you can hold the landowners accountable for taking care of those roads, since the city has assumed no responsibility because they don't have any documentation to support that they accepted those roads. I know in the mayor's state of city address, he said he's going to be focusing on the old areas of Fishers. That's an old area. We've got holes in the ground over there. We have where the Kroger was going to move in. Don't know what's going to happen with that. We have an empty Jack in the Box. We have 7 pizza places in that 4-block area there. At least 12 or so salons, either nail salon, hair salon, massage salon, foot salons. And an empty old Jack in the Box. I'm just asking that you guys pay attention over there, and in this particular issue, if you can exercise some responsibility to make the owners of that streets take care of those streets, and if not, maybe you can initiate legal action and take them to court to have them comply with their own their covenants and restrictions. Thank you, and I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Just comment briefly on that. So Mike can recollect back to his days on the council. We wrestled with this issue on a number of occasions when he was on the council. Right now, I can tell you that our Todd Sucher, our building commissioner, is issuing notices of violation on that road and trying to bring about a course correction by the private sector. This is an unusual situation where we can't find any documentation where the city of Fishers ever took acceptance of these roads, yet it appears they went to the courthouse and had them dedicated. So under state law, you have to take acceptance of those, of any type of right-of-way, and we cannot find, and this goes back to when you were on the council.
Yes.
We could not find any confirmation that did in fact occur. So to date, what we've been doing, we forced Kroger to fix their section of the road. We try to give notice of violations and try to get people to take ownership, but it is a difficult situation with this particular road. The HOA, if you want to call it that, or the business association is pretty much defunct, And so you're chasing down anyone you can to try to hold them accountable for maintaining that road. But,
Well, if I could make just two brief comments. We have one owner out there, Greg O'Haron, who does a pretty good job of taking care of the potholes at least. And that's one. And I want to take exception with the Kroger, because I was on the council, and it was during the time that Kroger was asking for a change in the planning up at Oleo and 116th Street to build their superstore.
Yeah.
And as a member of the council, I said, I won't even talk to you about that till you fix up your roads. And they did. So that's how that took place. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And in addition to those, just so we have it on the radar, 96 and Lanner behind the Donatos and Bank, it's the same situation, same condition.
yeah, so if I could right the wrongs of the past, I would not allow for private roads that function more like public roads. And this has been a conundrum to figure out, and we're trying to work with the people who own them to bring them up to standard before we were to take acceptance of them, because otherwise you are inheriting a pretty significant financial liability to take on these roads. So even the same is true about Parkside Drive near State Road 37. If you look behind the Ram, basically that road, same situation. Road is in really bad shape. It was built as a private sector road. People use it as a public road, and they're in bad shape. And we've got to figure out some conclusion, but we're trying to do it in a way that it doesn't unduly affect every taxpayer and let the developer off the hook.
Still open for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, step forward, state your name and address for the record. You have 3-minute time limit. Thank you.
Eric Spencer, 11703 Holland Drive, Fishers. Mine's just a general comment about 116 Towns and the proposal for the development there. Our property sits on the west side, and we're just expressing our concern with the lack of clarity and plan and design for the property line. There hasn't been any conversations with the developer from any of the neighbors, regarding what fencing will be put in place, what's going to be done with the tree line currently there. There's trees and bushes that both border the proposal and the development there, as well as our property. Just kind of want to bring that up and make it noted.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tony, do you want to?
Does any?
Tony Pagano, who would be able to help you out with that very question.
Yeah, I mean, I can follow up with them directly. I get a contact. And we had the public hearing, didn't hear any feedback from the public during the plat, and the plat was approved. The rest of the townhomes will have to go through the code compliance, and I know there's buffer yard requirements. The fencing, I don't believe is required, but I can definitely talk to the developer and work with the neighbor and see what we can do to address his concerns.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, I'll close the community comment. A motion to adjourn? Or to executive session. All right. Motion by Pete, second by Celine. All those in favor? Aye.